You don't need a mansion or a Hollywood name to leave behind a story that's more than just fame.
Me to need a will, just a family, or a cat plotting world domination. Welcome to Celebrity Estate Chaos, where we prove a lot of things. Like how estate chaos isn't just for millionaires with private islands, anyone with stuff, relatives, or that one weird collection you think nobody's fighting over. And chances are, they will.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into the incredible life and, frankly, the deeply unsettling final chapter of a true legend, Stan Lee.
Yeah, it's quite the story. This is the man who, with brilliant collaborators like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko.
Right, they didn't just create characters, they co-created entire universes. Gave us these flawed, relatable heroes. People grappling with rent, prejudice, heartbreak.
Characters who felt, more real than anything that had come before, really.
Exactly. But then his own final years, they were marked by real-life chaos, confusion, troubling legal battles. It's quite a contrast.
It's an almost unbelievable contrast, isn't it? The man who meticulously plotted origin stories, character arcs, perfect dramatic endings.
Yeah, and then somehow kind of failed to plot his own ending in the most crucial, practical way.
How does that happen? How does the architect of the Marvel multiverse leave behind what some sources call a real-life multiverse of mayhem?
Well, that's what we're digging into. This deep dive is based entirely on your sources, the articles you shared, from places like Medium, Vocal, Substack, LinkedIn.
Right, and those insights from the discussion questions, other related material, all focused on the Stan Lee estate story and, what it all means.
So our mission is to really get inside that material you provided. Understand not just the timeline, what happened in those tough final years and after his death.
But why it matters.
Yeah.
What are the essential, maybe uncomfortable lessons we can all take away about protecting our own legacies, no matter how big or small?
Right. So let's quickly set the stage. Building the legend himself, born Stanley Martin Lieber, 1922, grew up poor in New York, found his escape in reading, movies.
And joins Timely Comics, which becomes Marvel, of course, incredibly young, 17.
And here's one of those details from the sources that really stays with you. One of his very early jobs there, writing obituaries.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that. Pre-written templates for celebrities, ready to go.
It's this strange early connection to summarizing lives, right? Yet reports show he never completed the script for his own.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
Wild, isn't it? But then he shifts into the creative side. And working with artists like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko.
Yeah, and the articles are clear. These collaborations were often tense. Significant credit disputes involved.
Absolutely. But together, they just revolutionize the comic book industry, move away from simple hero archetypes.
And create these deeply flawed, incredibly relatable characters.
Yeah.
Spider-Man worrying about rent.
Exactly. The X-Men reflecting the civil rights movement. These weren't distant gods.
No, they felt like people you could imagine living down the street just, with powers.
Yeah.
That connection was key.
And the material mentions he almost quit in the mid-50s, frustrated with how formulaic comics were.
Right. Apparently his wife, Joan, encouraged him. Said, write one story the way you want to before walking away.
And that story became the Fantastic Four, changed everything, launched the Marvel Age, pretty much.
Thank goodness for Joan's nudge, huh?
Seriously. And Stan Lee became more than just the writer. He became the face of Marvel.
Yeah.
So charismatic.
That Excelsior catchphrase, his voice narrating cartoons, that connection with fans. He was the brand identity in many ways.
His cameos started early, too. Interestingly, the first wasn't even Marvel, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, a TV movie.
Huh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He just understood connecting with audiences, promoting the brand everywhere, even showed up in a wrestling ring once for a promotion.
He definitely knew promotion. That public persona was vital to Marvel's growth.
And behind it all, for decades, his family. Married to Joan for 69 years.
An incredible run. And they had 2 daughters. One passed away shortly after birth, tragically.
Okay.
And Joan Celia, JC, his sole surviving heir.
Which brings us to that real-life plot twist, the part where the neat narratives he wrote kind of break down after Joan's death in 2017.
Yeah, the sources paint a really troubling picture of his final years, marked by vulnerability, complex conflicts swirling around him.
This is where those deeply disturbing allegations really come out in the reports. Widespread accusations of elder loss, manipulation, exploitation.
By various people around him, business partners, caregivers. It's incredibly difficult stuff to read about.
Yeah, the material you shared gets into specific, unsettling claims. Reports of forged signatures on licensing deals. Big money involved.
And that almost unbelievable report that his blood was allegedly drawn and used to find comic books for sale.
Hold on, his blood, that sounds like something out of a comic book itself, a villain's plan.
It's presented as a stark, disturbing example of the level of alleged exploitation he might have faced in that vulnerable state. It's shocking.
Wow. And naturally, this all spiraled into major legal fallout.
Yeah, lawsuits filed, restraining orders issued against people. Reports confirm a former manager was arrested on elder abuse charges related to his case. It got messy.
And right in the middle of all this is J.C. Lee, his daughter.
His only living daughter, yeah. As the sole surviving heir, she ends up embroiled in these huge disputes over her father's legacy, the use of his IP.
All those characters and stories.
Right, and just the handling of his affairs during that chaotic time.
Which leads us to, well, the biggest irony, maybe the most tragic part of the whole thing.
Here's a man who built fictional worlds with such detail, generated immense wealth, estimates vary, $50 to $80 million maybe.
And created some of the most valuable intellectual property on the planet.
Right, but he died without a clear, up-to-date will or an airtight trust in place.
It's staggering when you stop and think about it.
The questions raised in the material, they really hit hard. Like, if Stan Lee, the ultimate planner of fictional lives, forgot to write a will, what are we doing?
Yeah, or how could someone who spent a lifetime crafting stories where justice wins seemingly fall victim to injustice in his own final years?
It's the central paradox the sources keep highlighting. How could he overlook something so fundamental, especially with all that complex IP?
Well, the material suggests a few possibilities. Maybe profound grief after losing Joan, maybe trusting the wrong people.
Or maybe just that classic procrastination trap, you know. I'll deal with it later.
Or perhaps, like a lot of us, just not wanting to confront mortality head-on.
And the consequences of not having that clear plan, immense. Instead of a smooth transition, a protected legacy.
It became what the sources vividly call a multiverse of mayhem. Legal battles erupting.
Family conflicts playing out very publicly. Huge uncertainty about how much of his wealth, his IP rights, would actually benefit his daughter.
His estate basically became a legal battleground, a complex puzzle for lawyers to fight over precisely because the creator didn't leave the final instructions.
You mentioned a trust that could have potentially provided much clearer private instructions for managing complex assets like IP, right?
Yeah.
More so than just a will.
Generally, yes. Trusts can offer more control, privacy, and specificity, especially with ongoing concerns like intellectual property management compared to a will which goes through the public probate process.
Got it. So this really isn't just another story about a famous person's troubles. This is a critical case study for you, the listener.
Exactly. The sources make that connection explicit, asking, what would your story look like if someone else had to finish writing it tomorrow without your final script?
It's a powerful question. For anyone with a family, any kind of assets, financial, physical, intellectual property, even just a digital footprint.
Yeah. And the material pulls out some really essential, actionable takeaways from this whole saga.
Okay, like what?
First, fame or success. Absolutely no guarantee of preparedness. Don't assume someone has it all figured out just because they've achieved great things.
Right. Second, estate planning is for everyone. It's not just for the super rich.
No. If you have anything of value, digital assets, income from a side hustle, creative work you own rights to, you need a plan for it.
Third, protect your legacy before the final credits roll. Especially for creators like Stan Lee. That means actively dealing with IP, royalties, digital assets. How do you want your work to live on?
Fourth, and this might be the toughest talk to your family now.
Ugh, yeah. Don't leave your loved ones scrambling to piece things together like, what was the phrase, an infinity gauntlet jigsaw puzzle.
Haha. Yeah, something like that. Don't leave them sorting through chaos during a time of grief. Communicate your wishes clearly while you can.
Okay.
Stan's story sadly highlights that elder abuse is real. It can happen to anyone, famous or not. Be aware of the vulnerability of aging loved ones. Protect them from manipulation.
So important. And finally,
create a clear, documented plan. Absolutely need a will. If assets are complex, explore trust. Leave clear instructions for whoever you choose to manage things.
and the sources point towards resources,
Yeah.
right? Guides, checklists, legal help.
Yeah, ways to make it less daunting. They even mention how some resources use humor, like books hypothetically titled, Don't Let Your Will Be the Family Mystery Thriller, or Dividing the Pie, Dead Funny, the cat gets the couch.
Right. The point being, help is out there to avoid this kind of mess.
Exactly. Resources exist to help you avoid exactly this kind of chaos.
So ultimately, it all comes back to this core striking message. Stan Lee built these amazing fictional worlds with clear beginnings, middles, ends.
But his own story really underscores the vital, maybe painful importance of writing your real-life final chapter with clarity, foresight, intention.
Don't delay your planning. Be the hero your family needs. Put that clear plan in place for your estate, your legacy.
Stan Lee didn't write his own ending. Maybe, like in the comics, he thought the story just lives on through others.
But the chaos after he passed really shows the real-world cost of leaving that final script blank.
So the question for you, listening, is how do you want your final story to be told? And what steps can you take, maybe even today, to help make sure that happens?
That's a wrap for today's chaos. If you learned something, laughed a little, or now feel slightly more prepared for life's curveballs, we've done our job. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere podcasts make you rethink your to-do list. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if it's important and unexpected, we probably cover it. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.